Pyro from Team Fortress 2 is a face-melting killing machine who typically enjoys watching the world burn. But that isn't all Pyros. Of course there's those stinky fellows over there in the corner protecting the engineers, and those Pyro Sharks in the water with the Neon Annihilators. But the Pyro as a class outputs a high DPS, meaning it can kill people with combos, as well as being an extremely lethal class to come across in close to medium combat. The Pyro as a class is a force to be reckoned with. With the amount of different weapons, secondary, primaries, and different combinations you can use, the Pyro is easily one of the most versatile classes to play in the game. So let's take a look at the 10 stages of every Pyro main. What do they go through? The ups, downs, and everything in between. Starting with stage 1. So stage 1 is when the player decides to pick the Pyro. Now there's various reasons why they could have picked a Pyro in the first place. The main reasons being that hey, he just looks cool and edgy. Or they really like the idea of having fire at their hands and just watching people burn to death. Hopefully not that one. But one of the main reasons, which is the reason for the most Pyro mains in my opinion, is because he just can't aim for shit. But goddamn, whenever I see a Pyro trying to switch to another class, it's like watching a fish try to walk. The first stage for every Pyro main is usually the worst stage, in terms of skill, because they sort of just run into the game, hit the rage button on the middle of the point, and just get obliterated by other classes. You know, they're getting hit by soldiers, scouts, heavies, even medics when you're that bad, and it's honestly a painful experience to watch, but it's something that we all had to go through initially. Of course, the Pyro being one of the easiest classes to pick up, they can get a kill here and there, but it just really isn't as easy as you think it is. Oh, and don't even consider thinking that this player knows that there's more weapons than just a flamethrower. These guys haven't tried the scroll wheel yet. They don't know that you have the fire axe or the secondaries, not that the fire axe really matters in the first place, but still, they don't know it. And God forbid mentioning the word mouse too, that also is pretty much non-existent. But overall, these players are generally innocent, they're usually pretty nice and friendly, just trying to learn the basics of the game. And they're also free kills to those tryhard soldiers trying to level up their kill streaks and strange weapons. But you really can't blame them, and you can't blame them for picking the Pyro in the first place. I mean, just look into the flames. So now we're on to stage 2, and due to the Pyro's low skill floor, the typical Pyro main will start to gain a few kills here and there. And in essence, that seems like a really positive thing. Great, they're getting a couple kills for the first time in Team Fortress 2. But this sort of turns into a problem because they become overconfident and cocky and start thinking that they're genuinely good at the game. These types of players is what I like to call the rages of Team Fortress 2. They get into a game, they think they're good, then they get owned by the enemy team and cry like a baby. And one of the main reasons that these players are stuck in stage 2 for so long is because they never take accountability for their mistakes in the game. Instead, they prefer to blame others or just act like they're having a bad day. But in reality, no, you probably shouldn't be running and charging at that heavy who's standing there shooting his minigun with a medic behind him. But hey, it's just a learning experience. What can you really expect from a stage 2 Pyro? Hold on guys, we got news coming in right now. It turns out that the Team Fortress 2 community is a more dangerous place than ever right now, and it should be your top priority to stay safe online. Luckily for us, this video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Unlike the Pyro Shark, Surfshark keeps your identity safe. When using Surfshark, it swaps your device's location with a new one, meaning no one can track you down through the game or through your IP address. Not only can no one track you down, it also allows you to bypass censorship and watch shows from other countries. For example, I was watching The Last Kingdom on Netflix, and we only had 3 seasons out in Australia, but using the VPN, I could connect to America and watch season 4 before it was released. So this also means that you can gain early access to games that are released in other countries before yours, as well as something we can all relate to, which is encrypting your mispolling photos and Vampiro fan art. Something else which I'm sure a lot of you other YouTubers out there can relate to is getting DDoSed on your streams and in-game. It's a real shame that there's bad actors in the TF2 community who choose to try to ruin things for others, attack them, and attack their internet. Well, while using Surfshark, you are safe from DDoS attacks. Anyone who tries to attack you will just end up attacking Surfshark's servers, which are bloody strong servers by the way. In the description will be a link for you to redeem 83% off your subscription on Surfshark, as well as a 3 months for free. So it's the 3rd stage now, and the typical Pyro main is now searching around YouTube and Google to find some tips on playing the game. How can they improve? What can they do to be better? And what can they do to stop dying every 5 seconds? Well, they come across a few TF2 YouTubers who main Pyro, making Pyro tutorials, such as myself, subscribe by the way if you haven't already, and they find some very useful tips. But most importantly, they dive into the beautiful, vibrant world of playstyle, strategies, and wombo combos. They watch all the typical Pyro YouTubers and see them doing stunts that they thought no Pyro could possibly do. Flying through the air with the extinguisher, chopping off enemies' heads, doing puffin stings with the flare gun and the flamethrower, and much, much more. This is quite a fascinating stage for the Pyro because it's almost like they've just opened up a third eye. They've realized their true potential and what they can become. It's not just running into the enemy team and spamming your flames. There's a whole lot more depth to playing Pyro, and it's a rather exquisite task. And they kind of realize that Pyro actually takes some skill. Kinda. When this Pyro goes in game, they try out these stunts, and boy, it hits their ego hard. They quickly realize that they're not as good as they thought they were, and these things, they can't just do them in an instant. This will take practice, and this will take some bloody hard work. And unfortunately, this is the stage where a lot of Pyro mains get stuck at. They see these other people doing these fantastic things with the Pyro, and get lost in themselves thinking, I just can't do this, it's impossible. But maybe they don't. Maybe they have some sort of inspiration, motivation, and work hard to move on to the next stage. So we're on the next stage now, and they've been working hard to improve on Pyro, trying out these things, but it's just not working. So it turns out that the 30 minutes that they spent on a Thursday afternoon trying to master the Pyro just wasn't enough to be good, and they just simply don't have the patience to continue. So they try all the other classes. So they tried the Rocket Man.
Nope.
They tried the Texas Cowboy.
Nope.
Hey, and they even tried the French Stabby Boy. So after that little detour, let's say, the typical Pyro main decides to stick to their roots and just keep playing Pyro for just a bit longer, because it's really the only thing that they can do to a subpar quality. And this is the wonderful, beautiful, bubbly stage of acceptance. So this bozo has finally come to realize that they didn't choose to play the Pyro chose to play them. So it's by this stage that the typical Pyro main decides that it's about bloody time to try the mouse 2 button and reflect some things. So they go ahead, they open up Teams of the Fortress 2, open up the community tab and find the nearest 2-fort server. And this is when the hunt begins to find what unsuspecting soldier they can massacre today. Well, maybe this task just wasn't as easy as they thought it was. But this is when the typical Pyro main has an epiphany. Maybe if I can't use the mouse 2 button, maybe if I can't deflect anything, why do I even need that feature on my weapon at all? And this is officially when the Pyro goes to hell. So it's a warm, calm Friday afternoon, and the typical Pyro main is scrolling through the community server list, and everything's normal, you know, the classic 2-fort servers, the zombie servers, until they see a server called a dodgeball server. They get angry. They think, what the hell? Sports in Team Fortress 2? Come on bro, if I want to do sports, I'll go outside. I'm playing computer games, why do you want me to play sports? So out of anger and curiosity, they join the match. And they are angry. They're prepared to just punch their screen, punch their keyboard, and just walk out of the room. But when they're joined, they're actually surprised. They realize, wow, this is actually not a sport. This is just playing Pyro and practicing my deflex. This is perfect. They run in and they die. They die. And they die. It isn't a great time for this Pyro main, as he's just 1, thought this was a sport in Team Fortress 2, 2, entered the game expecting to win but dying instantly, but 3, there's actually a positive which comes out of this. This Pyro main stays in that server for long enough to hit that one lucky perfect deflect, which sets off this tick in his head, making him realize that, hey, I can actually deflect things if I time them properly. He plays a bit longer, gets used to the timing, and then hops into a casual game, and bam, he can reflect rockets. With this newfound skill, he moves on to the next stage. This is the fantastic, wonderful stage of the good, the bad, and the subclasses. This is a stage where the Pyro main realizes that he can utilize subclasses into his gameplay to make him a better player. So he protect, he attack, and most importantly, his Neon Annihilator go whack. The 3 primary subclasses used by the Pyro in this stage is the Pyro, the Pyro Shark, and the Flyro Shark. The Pyro is a type of Pyro who looks after the engineer and makes sure his buildings are okay, deflecting any rockets which come in the way. The Pyro Shark, however, sits in the sewers of 2-fort or Sawmill in the water and waits for anyone to come down. When they come down, he runs across to them with a Neon Annihilator and kills them in one quick stroke. Wait, stroke kind of sounds weird. Whack. And you know, the Flyro Shark is pretty much doing the same thing but using a jetpack and flying. Yeah. And this is a stage that I like to call the jack of all trades, but the master of none. This is when the Pyro knows how to use a lot of the mechanics. He can shoot flames, he can okay deflect, he can use some secondaries and some melees efficiently, but is not really a master of anything. He hasn't really garnered that one skill which sets him apart from other Pyro mains. This guy is just kind of a good player, nothing more. Sure, when he joins a casual game, he sits around the top of the scoreboard being either 1 or 2, followed by his medic girlfriend who's definitely following him around. Ketamine toes. I mean, one of the biggest differences between stage 8 and stage 7 is the fact that in stage 8 he starts to realize what fights he should enter and what fights he shouldn't. And this is actually one of the biggest skills a Pyro can have, because instead of just running over to that heavy and dying, he's now reconsidering it and thinking, hang on, I can go kill that medic first, and then kill the heavy, and then kill the spy, instead of just running in and dying straight away. And he starts to definitely see some rewards getting high kill streaks of 10 to 50. Hold on, that was a big jump. Maybe 10 to 20. And to be honest, this is one of the main stages which most Pyro mains just stop completely. They're pretty satisfied with their skills, and they don't feel like testing them further. But if they do feel like testing them further, however, they move on to the next stage. So this is a stage which a lot of you have been anticipating, the competitive stage. This is when the Pyro feels like, casual's getting boring, I'm just owning community servers, what's the point anymore? I need to take my skills to the next level, I need to test myself, and I need to do something different to set me apart from others. This is when they consider joining a competitive team. Now unfortunately, due to them playing Pyro, they can't play 6s, so it means they're forced into Highlander. By the way, Highlander is essentially 9 vs 9 with one of each class. In this, they learn the callouts of all maps and different strategies of playing with others. Not a lot changes with this Pyro main, but the main thing that changes is their knowledge of maps, as well as how they work with a team. These players are very teamwork orientated, but also sometimes their inner rage comes out. I mean, they do say that you never leave any stage behind, completely that is. So from here on in this stage, there's 2 ways that Pyros really go. There's the route of being really helpful, wholesome and kind, teaching newer players, or there's the route of being an egotistical, toxic psychopath. And sometimes people go straight through the middle, sometimes people go completely left, completely right, it really just depends on the person. But overall, most of them are pretty nice. Unless you're on the enemy team, then they're not nice at all. They're lethal, they're killers, man. They will make you cry. So unfortunately, we are on the 10th stage, and unfortunately this is not going to be the exciting, happy and bright stage that you're all hoping for. The 10th stage is rather depressing actually. This is the stage where the rush from competitive and from all the skills sort of just boils down to nothing. It all evaporates out of the thin air. What used to be fun domination of the enemy team turns into just running around mindlessly killing them. And honestly, there's only so long the dopamine rush can really last after getting those kills. So unfortunately, this is really the stage which the competitive players and the professional Pyro mains decide to quit. They decide, you know what? This is boring, and there's 2 options that they really have. They either pick another class and try to master it, or they decide to quit tier 2 entirely. Now unfortunately, it's mostly the latter. It's kind of just depressing to think that playing the Pyro just wasn't as fun as it was back in the day, and things just changed. The game hasn't been updated, lots of their friends have quit, and they're sort of just one of the last ones left in there. I really don't blame them for giving up, I don't, but I do think it's truly sad. So guys, make sure you like, subscribe, and thanks for- wait, I'm getting a phone call, wait, there's a bonus stage? There's a bonus stage. What? So bonus stage, bet you weren't expecting this, hey? This stage is called the Meme God, and this is mostly because this is the Pyro who just uses memey strategies to their advantage. They're either really skilled, more skilled than the competitive players, or they're just not skilled at all and just having some good old fun. Now the thing that separates this player from all the other stages is that they don't take the game seriously at all. They're seriously just running in there, not caring whether they die, live, and everything in between. They're just having a good old jolly time. Now this stage can occur from anywhere between stage 2 and stage 9. And truly, these sorts of players are rare to see. They're very funny, they're very wholesome, and you'll know one when you see one. I really admire these players for using their skills for fun rather than just trying to beat other players and burn them into the ground like most Pyro mains do. They're just really chill people. They're generally always open to helping newer players, teaching them strategies, telling what weapons are good and what's bad, as well as using the detonator to find weird spots in maps and just camping their entire time. These players are true angels from heaven, and I wish we saw more of them. But nonetheless, these players always enjoy the small things in life. That one deflect pushing someone off the hill, that one boost of some random player into the sky. It's always the little things that make these guys happy. Either way guys, we're gonna wrap the video up there. Comment below what stage you're in, and subscribe for more content.